This is the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. Rolex is the master of crafting and selling the most coveted watches you can find in the market, which is anticipated each year. And when we talk about one of the most sought watches by Rolex, we are talking about the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona. Whenever this reference is getting a new release, there is an expected increase in demand for this watch model, resulting in an overwhelming market with many buyers as well as sellers. Although it's one of the most sought after Rolex watches that are also difficult to locate. The Daytona line today has some of the longest waitlists among high-end luxury watches, despite its initially fairly underwhelming beginnings. In this video brought to you by The Luxury World, we will explore the fascinating past of the Rolex Daytona to see how this timepiece got to be so recognizable and so difficult to locate. We will also be going to find out why the waiting list becomes so long for this timepiece, and we will help you to find out where you can get Cosmograph Daytona without bearing too much time and effort on the waiting list. If you still have not subscribed to our channel, make sure to do it now so you can stay updated on our future videos. Rolex's connection to racing dates back considerably further than the 1950s, when the Daytona watch series first began. The Rolex Cosmograph Daytona was created to fill in the gap between the demand for the rising popularity of motor car racing. As the relationship between Rolex and auto racing deepened, the company experimented with a chronograph that may assist racers in keeping track of their speed, distance, and time throughout a race. In 1955, Rolex made its first chronograph official. Rolex designed the watch to serve as a useful tool for professional race car drivers. The Rolex chronograph was first introduced in 1955 with the introduction of the pre-Daytona reference 6234. The pre-Daytona watches included 3 subdials, tachymeter and telemeter scales, and the iconic Rolex Oyster casing. Less than 200 chronographs with white and black displays were constructed of gold, whereas an estimated 2,300 chronographs were crafted from stainless steel. These products are among the most sought after by Rolex fans due to their exclusivity. Rolex Daytona timepieces are among the most recognizable and classic watches on the planet's surface. A Rolex Daytona can be identified from a mile away because of its noticeable pushers and crown. The Rolex Cosmograph Daytona has an oyster case that is water resistant, and it also has a distinct dial features and a large tachymeter that allows drivers to hit their goal speed over a specific distance that they desire. On the traditional versions of the watch, the tachymeter is located on the dial, but the Cosmograph Daytona makes up for that. It enhances the bezel's engraved design of the tachymeter and placed it there, providing the watch legibility and a different look. Also, this was the first Rolex ever made that employed a chronograph. It also has a smart color palette, a tachymeter on the bezel, and 3 balanced and perfectly clear subdials. The modern Cosmograph Daytonas differ from the old models in several ways. The 2021 models include a 40mm oyster case crafted from different precious metals, including white gold, rose gold, oyster steel, yellow gold, or platinum. 3 subdials are housed in the stylish black, blue, or gold dial selections, and the bezel still has an etched tachymeter scale for measuring speed and distance. There is much more than just amazing looks and functions that are included in the Cosmograph that brought it to an extremely high demand. Manufacturers also contributed to Rolex Daytona's impacts on the demand and supply of the timepieces. Even though the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona is a wonderful watch out there in the market, the psychology behind its appeal is involved. There is a huge market for the Cosmograph, and the supply is less than the demand. Also, not all who need a Daytona can get one. As we are all aware, people desire what they cannot have. Due to this, the Daytona becomes unique, and the collectors of watches and the whole watch community adore the rarity and scarcity of the timepiece. This also implies that the costs in the market for Rolex Cosmograph Daytona watches are also at a high level in the second-hand markets. Although the precise quantity of Rolex watches made is a well-guarded secret, Daytona's low production makes it so difficult to find. Only a few units of the model were made because the watch's initial iteration wasn't very well received received at the time. Even as demand for the Daytona increased, Rolex continued to produce a small number of watches. Because of this, vintage Daytonas are exceedingly tough to find, even if it's simpler to acquire a contemporary model. That's pretty much all there is to it. Besides, Rolex is a genius because they consistently boost the brand and make the selling price to maintain and get a greater standing on the market. Where can we get Rolex Daytonas? The answer is simple. Dealers who are authorized by Rolex have a Rolex Daytona. There is a waitlist, but for most people, that is usually just the conversation in an appropriate manner, and then making an effort to convince you to acquire a different, less desirable model. Dealers receive enticing models like the Rolex Daytona. Their most expensive watch customers that are heavy consumers and those who can afford to buy more watches than a single one. Rolex retailers frequently stock stainless-backed steel Daytonas, yet they hold onto them for their top clients. Therefore, for someone without a business connection with a Rolex dealer, having access to a Daytona will only be possible after all the premium clients have been assisted. But only if you're lucky. Doing this typically takes years. Even when the most expensive clients are caring for dealers who like to hang on a couple of Daytona timepieces for future instances, where a different premium client wants one in a faster transaction. This is the reason some individuals say they have been on wait lists for as long as 10 years or more. The goal is to increase your likelihood of acquiring a sought-after stainless steel Daytona. It's also best if you manage to cultivate close ties with a dealer. If you have not already, choose a reputable vendor. But to achieve this, you can purchase additional wristwatches and accessories. However, this doesn't promise anything, and it does not give a guarantee that you will be able to secure a Rolex Daytona watch for you. Rolex vendors frequently don't own a Mini or another Daytona. Some dealers might say that they can only gain access to a Daytona only once a year. But as for exploring the area, it's pretty much unnecessary to contact every Rolex authorized dealer. You can ask dealers to be listed on the wait list, but if you're not a member of their family, there is virtually no probability of obtaining one other than to look out for limited availability in the second-hand market. You can look at those platforms if you don't want to wait, especially for the used goods market, but most likely you will be spending more. Some are more expensive relative to the recent models than they are the first time. Paying a price to avoid inconvenience and the time it can take to wait years to purchase a new one might also work for some. The issue here is that most individuals will not sell their Rolex Daytona that is made of stainless steel. Thus, you have to take a look at older variants of the Daytonas that are made of non-stainless steel. Do you think every Daytona cosmograph watch is in very high demand? The traditional watches are the only real solution, which is the Daytonas, which are made of stainless steel. Although the present-day Everose and Platinum Daytona sell well, they're the least desirable because the stainless steel versions are the holy grail for this reference. This is where the waiting list for the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona can be found. Now for sure, you are also wondering which is the most popular Rolex Cosmograph Daytona model. The most popular Rolex Cosmograph Daytona is the reference M116500LN. It's believed to have a waiting list that currently can take up to 10 years to get one. This reference is the one that was released in 2016. It's one unit of pure Daytona, as the saying goes. There is much to love about this watch, as this one has unique features and incorporates the styles of both traditional and new Rolex Cosmograph Daytona. The casing is made of stainless steel and a black ceramic Sarachrome bracelet bezel. Since its debut, it has been creating a noise in the Rolex community of collectors. It contains an internal Rolex automatic movement, which is believed to be the best to date, which is the caliber 4130. It also comes with a great precision and strength of a 72-hour power reserve. What are your thoughts on the Rolex Daytona and its waiting list? Do you think it's worthy of long waiting lists? We would like to see your answers and opinions in the comment section. If you liked this video, we will be glad if you let us know that too. Don't forget to follow us and give us a thumbs up. Once again, this is The Luxury World, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next videos.